All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I want to talk to you about making funding equitable for all public schools and students. When we invest in our children's education and future, we invest in our future. Investing in education is possibly the most important investment anyone can make. According to ASCD.org, the United States is the only nation to fund elementary and secondary education based on local wealth. When I first did my research, I wanted to do it on more funds for public school. After doing my research, I realized that we have all the funds, but it's the way the money is allocated. I feel that the money is not equally distributed for all of our students. You should listen to me because teaching is my passion and my desire. I really enjoy watching our students grow and reach their full potential. Students are our future, literally. We should support their education, even if it means just being an advocate. These are our future leaders, teachers, protectors, and doctors. What I want to talk to you about is that we need equal funding for all public schools and students, the satisfaction for taxpayers to pay the same property tax regardless of where they live, aim to maximize funding contributions from districts, and for policymakers to consider whether their state's funding model supplies sufficient resources for schools to provide an adequate education. I want you to visualize how the students and teachers will be more successful with available resources to meet all of their students' needs. Poor and minority children sometimes face problems that are not experienced by their peers, and in all advanced nations, they tend to have more difficulty with education. But in the United States, those students face additional handicaps because they are often forced to attend poorly funded schools. I got this information from ASCD.org. About half of district funding comes from local revenue sources, the most common of which are property taxes. Higher property values can yield more property tax revenue per student, even at lower tax rates. The dependence on property tax revenues to support local schools often reinforces inequality by ensuring that wealthier communities have better funded schools. I retrieved this information from allovue.org. So what's the problem and how are we affected? Students who attend public schools located in poor communities have less of a chance of success due to lack of resources, due to low school funding, even if they have plenty of potential. Students who live in and attend public schools in wealthier communities are more likely to have the support, finances, and resources at home and at school to give them the tools needed for success. With inequality for school funding, our children who are our future leaders have less of a chance at success, which can impact our future. So now that we know what the problem is, let's talk about some possible solutions. Aggregate per pupil spending increases student outcomes in every situation, an effect that was large in some studies than others and mattered more for low-income students. Increasing per pupil spending by 10% in all 12 school-age years increases probability of high school graduation by 7 percentage points for all students and roughly 10 percentage points for non-poor students. I got this information from neatoday.org. Alternatively, change the way that North Carolina funds public education by attaching funding to the student. Coupled with open enrollment for schools statewide, student-centered funding will ensure that schools chosen by parents will receive funds necessary to educate each child. Nothing more, nothing less. I received this information from johnlocke.org. Policymakers may consider whether their state's funding model supplies sufficient resources for schools to provide an adequate education. A given system may provide relatively equal resources, but these resources may not be sufficient to reach the goal of providing an adequate education for students. Property taxes. If we make property taxes equal no matter where you live, that is another possible solution. Unfortunately, the downside of this is that taxpayers may be upset with the possibility of an increase in their property taxes. And so now that we know some possible solutions, I want to give you a visual so you can have a better understanding. That things are better with my answer because all students will have a better opportunity at success with more resources available due to equality in funding. Things are worse without my answer because we will continue to see a decline in graduation rates. Looking at these compared, there is a change Making a change to improve funding and making it equal is the stand we should take. To review, we need more equitable funding for all public schools and students. We learned a few possible solutions to this problem, and I've given you a visual of the full picture. After hearing my speech, I hope that it has given you some insight on public school funding. Our children are our greatest treasure. They are our future. Nelson Mandela. Do you guys have any questions?
No.
All right. If you could pan everybody one more time.